All right, we are back. I hope you got all the coffee and whatever it is you have at your home kitchens to get you ready to go. So, the next talk that we have coming up is from Maxime Beugnet, and he's going to be giving us a talk about MongoDB and GraphQL. And I saw this talk or a version of this talk previously. I have to say, blew my mind to see what Mongo is able to do. So I'm super excited. Maxime, how you doing? You feeling ready?
Hey, yeah, all good. Thanks very much for the warm welcome. I'm glad to be here again this year, and it's a pleasure to talk to all of you guys about MongoDB and all the cool tricks and things you can do with it.
Very, very good. So excited about that. I'm going to give you the stage and show us what you got.
All good. Let's go. So let me just start my timer. All good. So the goal of this talk is to build the GraphQL API in about 20 minutes or less. So I'm Maxime Beugnet, I'm a developer advocate based in Paris, and I work for MongoDB, as you can see. So I think everybody knows that we all had COVID, right? So the whole world, has gone crazy with COVID. So my idea initially was to try to make the data about COVID, available to everybody through charts, APIs, make all that, available to as many people as possible. So, for example, I started to work with MongoDB Atlas and MongoDB charts that's embedded in MongoDB Atlas, and I started to do some charts like those. These are actually available in a link in my last slide, so you can find like all the informations in that last slide, and also like all the blog posts and all the tutorials to basically redo all the things I'm presenting to you today. So just one thing I was doing with this. So of course, to build those charts, I needed some data. And I was inspired by Johns Hopkins University and those cool charts they've been producing since the beginning of the pandemic. So I was trying to reproduce more or less the same thing, and I was trying to produce some, charts and APIs. So luckily, they provide in the term of use at the bottom, as you can see with this very small arrow, a GitHub repository that you can find just right here. And the repository looks like this. It's a very tiny repository where you have a bunch of CSV files, basically. So the thing is, they produce like that data, and it's not the best, right? So I was trying to make it, I was just, one idea that I have was maybe to try to redo the data myself and try to reproduce something even better. But then I figured that they are actually using like a lot of sources. They're actually aggregating a lot of different data sources. So I was just like, all right, so let's not do that. The data will be as good as it is. It's not perfect. There are some mistakes and some, errors here and there, but that's as good as it gets, right? I can't do that on my own. There are a fully fledged team, to produce that. So I'm just taking the data that they produce and I'm trying to do the best of it, right? So they own the real numbers. I'm just here to just provide them, basically. So in that folder, there is like a daily reports, right? So daily report initially looks like a good idea because you have 1 day of data and one single file. Looks good. Why not? I could use that to import every day the new day, and I could like provide the data in my MongoDB cluster every day like that. But if you look at like one of the first file, it looks like this. So province/state, it's a CSV file, right? So you have country/region. You have last not underscore update and not slash either. You have a special format of the date. You have confirmed death and recovered values, of course, but they don't have any zeros. So you have just an empty value for when it's a zero, apparently. So as you can see, it's like not perfect. It's it's one format at least. But if I look like another random file in April, for example, 2020, it's completely different, right? As you can see, I have now like a new column called FIPS. I have a new column called admin2, which is apparently some kind of Conti level. I have province underscore state instead of slash state previously. So that's also annoying to parse and deal with it. The date of the format has changed. Like as you can see, like it's fully completely changed and completely different. I now have zeros as well in the confirmed death and recovered cases, which was not the case before. So it's also like another if that I need to add in my code. I have latitude and longitude with a weird underscore for some reason. So yeah, so as you can see, it's not very consistent. It's not really predictable, and that's not good, right? If I want to build like some charts, a GraphQL API or REST API to make it available publicly, I need that to be a lot more consistent and predictable. So not good, really. I can't really work with that. So the key to consistency and to success when you build a good API is to be consistent, right? Just try to provide something consistent to your users. They will thank you for that, I guess. So there is another folder in that repository called the time series folder. And that folder contains like those 5 files, right? Confirm global, desk global, and recovered global. So when they say global, it means like a country level, or eventually like province or state. Some countries are actually subdivided, and there are like two big files for the US where they don't count the recovered cases. So you have confirm and death, right, for the US, which provides like all the details for the US, like the down to the county, basically. So it's a lot more values. So from that, I get those files, right? They look like this. They all look the same. It's province/state, country, region, latitude, longitude, and I have one column for then each date, right? And I get all the COVID data from there. So the thing is, all right, it's consistent. It's the same file every day. They just add one more column at the end every day. So it gets bigger and bigger, but it's very consistent, right? So I don't need to deal with exceptions and weird things, right? So it's not too bad. The thing is, if I import this file as is in MongoDB using, for example, Mongo import, which is the default tool to import CSV files, I would end up with this kind of terrible schema. And I really don't want that in my MongoDB cluster. Because like the date here, for example, it's in a key, not a value, so I can't really do a filter on it. It's not very great to work with that. And like the latitude and longitude as well, I prefer to have some GeoGs on object, etc., etc., right? So for example, the date, I would rather have like date and the actual date in a ISO date format. The localization should be a GeoGs endpoint, which I can reuse in my MongoDB charts and all the MongoDB queries or to the indexes, etc. So it would be a lot better if I have something like that. Also, they provide a lookup table, which provides more information about all the countries, counties, state, and regions. Like, for example, I get the population from here, I get some ISO code, etc. So I wanted to also do some kind of like left outer join and regroup all that information together. So in the end, I have something that looks like this. So I applied some Python magic to make all that magic happen, as you just saw. And the final document that I get looks something like this, right? So at the top here, I have a few fields about the place, like what am I, like where I'm trying to look at for that particular day. Then I have the date for that, like that one day, and then I have at the bottom here the confirmed death recovered cases, and also I calculated the daily values because they provide the accumulation of the confirmed and death and recovered cases. And by doing the difference, I've done that with MongoDB and with an aggregation pipeline. I can actually rebuild the daily value for every day. So in the end, that's what I have, and I can work with that. I have a few collections so that I've built. So because of those 5 files, I can do different combinations. So there is US only, which is just for the US. You have global, which is just the global files. If you combine global and US only, you have global and US, which is, as you can see, a lot more documents because I have a lot of points, actually, a lot of values for all the counties in the US. And then I built a new collection based on that, which is a country's summary, which is just an aggregation for each country. So for each country, I have just one single point. So just one single point per day for the entire US or France or whatever. So that's really how it works. So from those collections, I've built like some REST APIs, some charts, and some GraphQL API. And today I want to show you how to reproduce the GraphQL API on MongoDB Atlas, so the MongoDB fully fledged data platform. So now let's hack. We just have to do that live to see how it looks like. So I'm switching to MongoDB Atlas now. So it looks something like this. So as you can see here, that's the real cluster that I have in production. This one here at the top is actually publicly available, so you can actually log in this cluster and like play with it, develop with it, etc. It's fully available. As you can see here, it's updated every hour, so you can see here every hour you see the spike of data input and output as well, because I'm replacing the data. So that's what you get, right? In MongoDB Atlas, you can build your cluster and like host your data correctly online and safely, right? So that's MongoDB Atlas. At the top here, you see a few things. So charts, the charts I showed you earlier, they are actually hosted in here. I don't have time to show you that today, but that's where it is. And we also have MongoDB Realm, which is, you can see that as MongoDB backend serverless platforms that living on top of MongoDB Atlas, and that can help you serve and work with your data. So like if you create a REST API, GraphQL API, that's basically where you want to do that. So let's switch to Realm. And I'm going to create a new application. So the one that you can use that's publicly available, it's actually right here. As you can see, I have a few users running on it. It's running like 270 requests per hour ish. So yeah, that's yeah, and as you can see, it's all running in the free tier as well. So there is a generous free tier that you can try for this app as well. So let's recreate the GraphQL public API that is publicly available in here. So let's create a new app. I'm going to call it API Days Paris, for example. I'm going to connect it to the COVID-19 public cluster. And I will make sure in the advanced configuration here at the bottom that is deployed in Ireland, because my cluster is also hosted in Ireland. So I will try to stick the backend next to the actual data and actual cluster. So the latency between the two is still, down to the minimal. Create a Realm application. Takes a few seconds. Okay, I'm in. All right, so as you can see here, you have a few things. So you can visit and take some time to have a look around, but you can do a few things. Just to enumerate a few things, you can create like an authentication system. I will actually have to use some of that. You can create a GraphQL application, which we're going to do. You can create functions and triggers. You can have HTTP endpoints, which is a way to host a REST API. You can also host a full website. So if you build a front end with React, for example, as well, you can host it here in Realm directly. So it's pretty neat. So let's have a look at the GraphQL part now, because that's what we want to do. First thing I need, of course, is to generate a JSON schema for my collection, because GraphQL needs a JSON schema. So as you can see here, I have all the rules and all the collections, and I can click on the one I want to build a schema on. So let's say let's play with global. I can choose from a few templates here, because I want to do like a read-only public REST API. I'm going to use this one, which is user only read all data. I say configure collection. Okay, I need to hit save. All right. And actually, before I do that, I need to go here in schema and click on generate schema. I could just bulk generate all of them, for all my collections, but I'm just going to do this one collection here. I'm going to click here. If I make it a bit bigger so you can see what it looks like, so it looks like this. So it's done a sampling, on 500 documents, and I can see already that it's missing the state, for example, because some documents don't have state in them because they don't all have a state. Sometimes it's just a whole country. So I can just fix the schema as well the way I want. So now I have country and state, and it looks good. So I can just reduce that, save it, all good. Now, if I go back to GraphQL, as you can see, I have a new interface, and now that I have a schema, I have a pre-built query, which I can execute by clicking just right here. And that's it. I have a GraphQL API that's running in production, actually. So here I have the endpoint. And as you can see here at the top as well, I have access to the schema if I want. So I can download the schema, so I can import it in my backend if I need. Sorry. And also I can build custom resolvers and have a few settings as well. from here, I have also documentation. So if I click here, I have some more documentation. So as you can see, I have actually 2 endpoints that have been created, global for the find one and globals. So if I had an S in here and we run that, I have actually like an array now of results instead of just a single result. So now to use this in production, I have to actually deploy that. But before I do that, you can read here that to use GraphQL, you actually need to be authenticated, right? So to use this endpoint, I need to be authenticated. Of course, security first. But I'm a DevRel, so for me, as you can see, you can use several authentication systems. So from Facebook to Google to Apple, whatever. I'm just going to go with the simple one, anonymous one. Here, I'm just going to say save, right, and deploy that application. Up, all the way down. It's a bit zoomed, so hope it's all right. All right. So now I need one more thing. Here at the top left, I have the app ID of my RAM app, right? So I need to copy this so I can actually send the query. So I'm going to replace the app ID in this query right here, and I can use that to create an anonymous user. Of course, into the documentation, but yeah, so I send this query and I get an access token and a refresh token. Here I save the access token, and now I can just add this token in here in this query that I've prepared. So as well, I need to copy paste the app ID in here. So I have the right URL. So I have the GraphQL endpoint, I have the authorization with the token. I have the query that I've prepared as well. That looks like this. So I'm looking for data in France where the state does not exist. That's like the France mainland. And I have a filter on the date, greater than and less than. I have a sort, and I'm asking for just the date and confirm daily cases, right? So if I just copy paste this, pass it and execute, as you can see, it's running. I get my data and I can do whatever I want. So just to show you how to add an extra layer of security, right? Because I've been, doing just anonymous authentication here just to prove that it's working and it's fully secure if you want it to. I can also work with email and password, for example. So I can just activate that. Here I can type whatever, http host.com, whatever. Email address, I think I don't need that. Yeah, up, just say hi, it's good. And save draft, right? Yep, can save my draft. So now I can click on add a new user. Oh, I need to deploy first, right? I need to deploy and then I can create the user. So I deploy, add a new user. So I can create the user for my user, and I'm going to use a super safe password, super secret, and of course, super safe. All right, so now as you can see here in my users, I have my anonymous user and my new user with my email and password, and I can now use that again. So I've prepared the query as well. So my password is actually super safe, as you can see. I need the app ID that's in here, paste here. And so here I can create now a token for my new user using my email and password. As you can see again, I retrieve a new access token, which I can use again. Or there's another solution that's a bit more nasty and that I would not recommend for production environment. Maybe you can use that for your unit test or something like that. But you can also send directly a query with the email and password, and that's actually going to be authorized, right? But it's like it can be, if someone is sniffing on your network, maybe they can steal the email and password, even if you're using HTTPS, I guess. So yeah, just to be on the safe side, I would prefer to use like access tokens, right? But as you can see as well, oops, I forgot the app ID. Of course, that had to happen once. Here's the app ID, and there we go. Just works, right? So Yeah, that's it. That's about it for me. You could create a REST API here manually in the HTTPS endpoints. And there is also a new thing I wanted to highlight because it's actually brand new. It was released like 2 weeks ago. We have in here now directly in Atlas a data API, which is a out of the box default REST API that does read and write. It's still in preview, and we are still improving it and working on it. So we are also, we are listening also to your feedback. So if you have any, please share them with me, and I can make sure that they reach the development team. But yeah, that's about it for me. Thank you very much for being in my talk today. I can share all those links that I promised you in the chat, I guess, in a second. Thank you very much for being around. In all those blog posts, you have how to create a REST API, a GraphQL API, that's this one right here. You have access to the charts. You have access to also the MongoDB community forum where you can ask all your questions. And I'm answering almost daily to any questions you have. And yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.
So the three signs of a professional developer relations is not using authentication,
Of course.
using a super secret, like actually the string for your password, but 3, providing resources at the end of your talk. So I really appreciate
safe,
all
right?
those links. Yeah, super safe, man. No, that was great. I like, because Mongo entered the scene early in my developer career when I was kind of looking around, and it was like, yeah, I kind of get it. And then there was like this thing that happened on Hacker News, and I was like, okay, whatever, I'll look at something else. And that kind of was end of my journey. But then like Mongo's matured a little bit.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like
it's
doing
yeah.
stuff now. I mean, that's crazy. That's a really full-fledged, powerful platform that you can really ship stuff. And I mean, you're taking citizen data, not citizen data, but publicly available data, and making beneficial, actionable content for people to be able to actually like make real like change and stuff. Like, look at the numbers. I mean, numbers speak for themselves and stuff. So this is a really powerful utility, and in 20 minutes too. So that was really, really fantastic. I also like the angle of showing using this data studio to clean up and handle government data, which is not exactly normalized, not exactly consistent. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually like it looks simple initially because it's just CSV file, so you're like, what can happen, but then you start working with them, and like when I started doing this project like in January 20 what was that, like 2 years ago, 2020, when COVID really started, so they were changing the data format every day. So I actually developed this project like probably like 10 times, I guess, in a different way. Initially, it was like some Realm functions, and then it was not big enough, so I switched to Python. So yeah, it was a complete mess, but at the end, I got it right, and it's running now in a cron every hours, so it's updating the data every hour. I might push that to 2 hours because now we have a lot of data actually, so it takes a decent amount of time to update the data. But yeah, it's fully there. It's fully available, and we are doing a lot of things. Also, I forgot to mention, but you have MongoDB University. Maybe this was the start of your journey, Jesse. MongoDB University is great. It's free. It's free, courses to learn MongoDB and use maybe Atlas, Realm, and charts, whatever. We have courses for everything from beginners to more advanced users. So yeah, it's
That's
great.
fantastic. I'm going to have another look at it. And actually, I think that your people contacted our people at AWS reInvent this year and want to try and do something together. So I think there might be more in the cards in the future. So that'll be pretty cool. Yeah.
I was there actually. I was at reInvent as well.
So, oh, were you? Nice.
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah,
I
guess I'm still a bit tired and jet lagged because it was just last week. So yeah.
Nice. Well, appreciate Devrella, you doing the thing, and like that's the grind right there. So
yeah.
All right. Thanks Maxime, for coming. Yeah.